Joining me now, Ed Rollins, Republican strategist and former political director for the White House, Miguel Perez, syndicated columnist and professor at Lehman College, and Robert Zimmerman, Democratic strategist, all three CNN contributors. Thank you guys very much for joining us. First, let's go straight to the healthcare bill. There's some question, in fact, it's very doubtful at this point whether or not in the House that there are enough votes to pass it. Robert?
This bill will pass. Let me give you my prediction and my assurance I've received from several members of Congress I've been talking to. There will be 218 votes for this bill, most likely Saturday evening. The key negotiations around the controversial issues of citizenship verification and abortion rights and whether funding will be done for abortions is going to be settled, and what's left will be in conference.
Ed, do you agree with that?
It's obviously it's his party, and they're the ones that are battling this thing out. There are 61 Democrats who have some objection to it, and obviously they have to be placated in some way, shape, or form. I assume they have too much at stake to not get a bill out. It's being rushed, obviously, this weekend. If it would have gone for another week or two, I think they'd have real problems. But they get it through this weekend, they're probably okay.
Miguel, particularly these blue dog Democrats, do you think some arm twisting is going to win their votes?
I hope so, but the Blue Dogs are holding off against abortion, which is a question that is still kind of unsettled. They're holding off against what they're going to do about illegal immigrants in this bill, and they're not going to go for that. The Latino congressmen on the other side are holding out for some kind of protection for illegal immigrants under this bill. So those are the things that are still standing out there that could, destroy this whole thing.
Well, one of the arguments that's out there, particularly with the numbers that we saw with unemployment, is that now is not the time, that we can't afford this. Robert, this is an argument that many Republicans have been making.
Look, the Republicans, when they held their rally on Capitol Hill Thursday, where Congressman Boehner and Michelle Bachmann said that this was the greatest threat to democracy and freedom. That kind of extreme, irrational language, in fact, really destroys their credibility in making their case. So, no question, this bill is going to be passed. It is a critical aspect of the administration's agenda. Not to pass it would be a serious setback in terms of economic growth and also in terms of dealing with the crisis of health care in this country.
Representative John Boehner, though, he's called this a job killer. Ed?
Well, I think everybody that basically knows a lot about jobs thinks it is. And I think the truth of the matter is, we'll find out. If Democrats pass it, it's their bill. The reality is health care is not going to really be provided for till the next presidential term, but taxes are going to go up, and a lot of the cuts are going to start earlier. And I think the economic deficiencies in this bill will basically be seen before the end of the campaign.
This bill is finally adopted, and it's been endorsed by the American Medical Association and the AARP. I think the public's going to realize it's not as scary as the Republicans are making it out to be.
Yeah, but there's no doubt the unemployment rate is 10.2%. It's up from 9.8%. Miguel, it's not just the vote question. It's also what happens when they go back to their districts and have to try to explain this.
Exactly, and look, much more than what happened in Tuesday's elections, what is really going to be telling for all politicians is how the economy is doing in the next year or so, and that's going to determine a lot for President Obama, for everybody who's running again for Congress. So it's all about the economy, stupid, like President Clinton used to say.
Yeah, Robert, if Democrats don't get the jobs, this might really hurt congressional Democrats in 2010.
Well, let's be realistic about it. Putting aside the politics, the unemployment numbers that were released today are devastating, and they should concern every American. It's not just the 10.2% unemployment.
Well, where are the jobs that President Obama promised?
There's no question. Look, this administration has taken dramatic steps through its Economic Recovery Act that's put in place, the stimulus bill. Obviously, there's a real debate about it, about the progress it's making. It's hard to rally the country around the fact you were able to avoid layoffs, so you've stabilized the markets. And certainly, Democrats have to do a lot more to force the financial institutions to engage in lending. But there's been progress made. Of course, the issue is it's certainly not good enough.
Robert, obviously you had your say. The bottom line here is that Americans are hurting. No one can convince me that this is going to create jobs other than some jobs in the healthcare profession. The bottom line here is that all the jobs that have been saved, that have been teachers or what have you, you're going to have to go back again, these 300,000 teachers that were going to be laid off. Where's the money going to be next year? you're putting a tremendous burden in this tax bill, this health care bill, on states. The Medicaid, which states are terribly burdened by, and this is going to add an even more dynamic burden.
Yeah, there's Tennessee Governor Phil Bredesen, and he's made that very same point, and he's a Democrat, saying, you know, love the idea of expanding health care for coverage, but the reality is, as a state governor, I don't know how I'm going to pay for this. Miguel?
It's about jobs. It's about helping the states who are having to, you know, lay off people too. It's the federal government maybe coming in with another stimulus. Unfortunately, the last stimulus, the perception of the American people is that we bailed out Wall Street, we bailed out the banks, we bailed out the auto industry, which includes a lot of American workers that needed help. But the middle class in America is what needs to be bailed out now with a better stimulus package that really creates jobs.
Miguel makes a very important point. The government has to do more. This is where we have to turn to our federal government. I think the stimulus has put some action in place, and we've seen some results. More has to be done. We're talking about 17.5% of people who are either underemployed.
Any money we borrow from China, any money, we have no money. Yeah, Democrats have to realize we have no money. We spent $1.4 billion more this year than we took in. We're going to spend even more next year. So any of your big fancy bills that you think are going to create jobs, stimulus, or what have you have to go to China and borrow the money from China.
And the reality is this administration has taken on an enormous a fiscal crisis of the likes of which we haven't seen since the Great Depression. They've stepped up. They put their record on the line.
The record was 8%. Stimulus bill was going to make unemployment stop at 8%. Today it was 10.2, and it'll be more next month, unfortunately.
Okay, Miguel's going to get the final word in.
We'll never be able to repay China, Ed, unless we get our house in order first. And we need to straighten out our own economy so that then we can pay China.
Okay, we got to go, guys. Thanks very much for joining us. Appreciate it. And still ahead, we have heroes.